If you're looking for the best investing app for 2024, I've got you covered. Each year, I research every single investment app to find the very best ones. I've personally tested over 50 of the top investing apps, and today I'm going to tell you which ones are the very best. Each of these apps I personally use and have over 250,000 of my own money invested in them, so I put my money where my mouth is. I tell you that because I feel like when I see videos about the best apps, I feel like they are biased because they're affiliated with the providers. Now, for complete transparency, I am affiliated with some of these providers. It's how I'm able to afford to spend the time making this video and other free videos on my channel. But also, I can be affiliated with any investment platform I choose. And trust me, there's a ton that I won't include as much as they would like me to. On that note, you also won't see any of the so-called robo-advisors here. They're platforms that invest the money for you into managed funds. As personally, I don't think they can beat the returns you can get yourself by buying a diversified index fund. I don't use these, so I wouldn't recommend them to you. So I'll tell you the pros and cons about each app, how easy they are to use, how much they cost, and how I personally use them. It's also important you know that every app mentioned here is covered by both the Financial Services Compensation Scheme and the Financial Conduct Authority here in the UK. So they're highly regulated and your money is safe while using them. To make this even easier, I put these all into a free downloadable guide you can grab in the link down below. I'm also going to do something a little bit unusual in this video and start with the best first, as I know people tend to drag that out right to the end of the video. But I do feel each of these apps are equally important for different reasons and it's worth watching. But if you do make it to the end, I'll share with you an app that I use which essentially gets you a paid app for free, so it'll be well worth your while. And one quick note is I do have bonus links for most of these providers. I'll leave the most up-to-date bonuses in the description as they can change and they're not always available. I've had a few people mention they've signed up and they haven't got their bonus, so just make sure you go through the links down below so that it counts. Okay, so let's start with my favorite investing app, InvestEngine. If you came up to me in the street and asked me for the #1 investing app you could use today and delete everything else, this is the app that I would recommend. And that is because InvestEngine currently provides the cheapest stocks and shares ISA on the market because they charge a 0% platform fee. This means there's no monthly fee or fee to buy funds charged by them. The typical fund fees will apply depending on which ones you go for, but you're going to pay them on any platform that you choose. But the obvious thing here is you'll think then, well, how do they make money? Well, they offer a managed service option which charges you 0.25% if you feel like you want more support, and they'll likely make some money on the cash on your account that isn't invested. Plus, they'll be introducing some more premium services in the new year, like a pension, which I'm waiting to open with them myself. The good thing is that these services help fund the 0% DIY platform fee that you can use. I use InvestEngine for my ISA account, and I'll be opening again with them this year and for the foreseeable future. InvestEngine specialise in ETFs or exchange-traded funds. These are what 99.9% of the population should be buying. An ETF is essentially a collection of different companies bundled together. This way you aren't relying on one stock to do well. You get some that do well and some not so well, but typically it will average out to around 6 to 8% per year. For example, I invest in these two index funds, Vanguard Developed World and Emerging Markets. And if I go into my analytics, a really nice feature I love is I can go into holdings and then I can see I own nearly 4,000 different companies just by owning these two funds. You can see I've got holdings in popular companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Tesla, just to name a few. I can also go in much more detail to see all stocks. I can filter by, say, Japan and the tech sector and see which companies I own there. I really like this feature as you've got a diversified wide range of companies, but you're also getting that feeling of owning individual stocks by seeing how much you have in each. I can also go into sectors and see how much I have in different industries broken down by a percent, like industrial, financial, and tech, as well as going into a breakdown by region to see how much I've got in each country. For me, of course, I want the majority of companies to be in North America for growth, but I also have a broad selection of different countries too. Of course, you don't need to buy what I'm buying. There's a wide range of ETFs you can choose from, lots of different providers and specialities. There's over 590 to choose from and more are being added all the time. You can go into their collections and you may want to pick something like dividend-focused funds. From there, you can pick a fund like this one from iShares and you can see it has a 5.23% yield. If you click into it, it will also explain things like yield and expense ratio and give you a much better understanding of how things work. You can also filter their ETF range by provider, for example Invesco. This one here in particular, the FTSE All World, I think will be a very popular fund in 2024. A couple of other features you'll want to know about are their auto invest and savings plans. This is one of the tools I would recommend if you want to be the most successful. You can click on set up savings plan and then this will allow you to add either weekly, fortnightly or most most likely monthly, an amount that will be automatically invested for you. The ability to do this weekly is nice, but monthly would be just fine. This allows you to invest on a regular basis so you can buy consistently and take advantage of when the market is down. This will give you a hands-off approach, so once you're all set up, you can let things run, set your monthly amount, and wait to see the results. The other thing which InvestEngine does really well is portfolio rebalancing. If you're new, that might sound a bit strange, but it essentially does this. If you had two funds like I do and you want to pay into them, well, I actually don't want an equal amount going into each. I set weightings. So say I invest £1,000, I want 90% to go into one fund and 10% into the other. If I set that, it will automatically split the money for me, £900 into one and £100 into another. If you buy just one fund, you won't need this, but it's handy if you want more than one. It has this other neat option called one-click rebalancing. So for example, I've added slightly different amounts to each of mine. You can see I'm slightly off my target weights. So I can go into options, rebalance portfolio holdings, and it'll show me what it would do. It would sell one and buy another to get me closer to those target percentages, which is a very nice option to have. What I really like about this app is just how easy it is to use. It's so simple, clean, and well designed compared to what you would expect from a typical investing app. There's no added nonsense, but it still has exactly what you need, which makes it perfect for beginners. My only real cons for the platform is I would like to see them add a lifetime ISA, as barely any platforms have it, and the pension account can't come soon enough. I suppose one con would be that if you think you can beat the market, which most people don't, then you can't buy your individual stocks on here, but that's about it. Personally, I'm quite happy sticking with these 4,000 stocks I own in my index fund and just relaxing. InvestEngine currently has a welcome bonus of up to £50 when you sign up, which I'll pop down below. Next up, if you fancy yourself as someone who wants to buy shares as well as ETFs, is Trading 212. Trading 212 is a funny one because I actually didn't use them for a number of years, as they paused their signups after a surge of new users off the back of the GameStop saga, where people were flooding to open new accounts, which, to be honest, was very responsible of them, but frustrating for new users who wanted to sign up at the time. Now, Trading 212 is back in full swing and one of the best apps that you can use. I have a regular investment account on here and it's where I keep my individual stocks. The main reason for using Trading 212 is the fact they have such low barriers to entry. They have over 13,000 global stocks and ETFs and super low fees. No fee for having your account open or to buy and sell. The only fee you're going to pay are typical fees like any platform I previously mentioned, plus 0.15% FX fee to buy an international stock, which essentially acts as a currency conversion fee, as international stocks, for example, on the US stock market will be listed in dollars and not in pounds. These charges do make the platform extremely cheap. Something I have to mention here as a big disclaimer is part of the reason Trading 212 is able to provide this service for so cheap is they do have a CFD arm, a contract for differences. You don't need to understand this, but it's essentially a much riskier way to trade, where 78% of people lose money as stated on their own website. So please, avoid this like the plague. It's very avoidable, it's a separate section on their website, but I think it's important for you to know this does exist. Stick to Invest and ISA. The other good thing about Trading 212 is they have fractional shares. On traditional stockbrokers, you would need to buy one share of a company. If you take Apple for example, one share is currently $191, which would be the minimum purchase. Instead, what fractional investing means, you could buy just £1 worth of Apple shares, which may give you say 0.05 of a share instead of a full one. This doesn't make any difference to you. If your £1 went up 10%, you would still make the same amount, but it makes investing much more accessible by having the ability to invest smaller amounts. One of the more notable features on Trading 212 are the trading pies. A trading pie essentially lets you build your own group of companies. So you can create a pie, add your companies to your pie like so, and then you will get an annual projection based on the company selected. In my case, 20%, as I picked very high growth companies. You can change the weighting on these, what percent you want in each, but it must add up to 100% or it won't let you do it. Once you've got that, you'll see some projections, and then you can choose to automatically invest into your pie each month or as and when you want. This is a really praised feature, but I do think there are a couple of cons. First is, are you good enough to build your own pie? Remember, these projections are based on past performance and aren't guaranteed future results. So that 20% looks fantastic, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to get it every single year. I wish. And secondly, you can share your pies. There's a library of pies that other people have created, but unfortunately I don't think they are vetted how they should be, and anybody can make a pie. So just be careful. It's a neat feature, but it's not something that I personally use. This section also has things like top winners and losers, which is also crazy to look at, as well as seeing the most traded stocks on the platform. The nice thing about Trading 212, and the reason I recommend them, is again just how easy they are to use. If you want to buy stocks, you're not going to find anything easier than this. And of course, you can also choose to hold your ETFs here too. Personally, I like to keep them over on Invest Engine, but it's worth exploring both options. And on that note, I would say you can sign up for all of these platforms so you can take a look around and see which one you like the best before committing to an ISA. Because remember, at the moment, you can only open one ISA per tax year until April 2024. After that, it is changing and you can open multiple. Trading 212 has a promotion where you'll get a free share when you sign up, which I will link down below. Next up is one of the more traditional brokers, and this one is Hargreaves Lansdown. Admittedly, if you're looking for somewhere to buy stocks and ETFs, HL is going to be more expensive than the first two options. It's not horrendous, and some people may want to pay it if they prefer a more established provider in terms of age and support. But there's a very specific reason I use them, and that's for the Stocks and Shares Lifetime ISA. Unfortunately, we're really limited in terms of options for providers when it comes to Lifetime ISA, as it's so much paperwork, a lot of providers don't deem it worth doing. But in terms of an app, I think HL is the best option for it. Even if you don't use them for that, the pricing isn't horrific. On the surface of it, it looks expensive, $11.95 to buy a stock, a huge jump from zero on Trading 212. But what you can do is purchase your ETF once for $11.95, and now they offer a regular investing service. So you can set up a direct debit from as little as £25 for the month and automatically invest into your ETF with no additional charge. You'll only pay the dealing fee again of $11.95 when you come to sell it, which could be 20 years later. You'll also pay a management charge of 0.25% for a lifetime ISA or 0.45% for stocks and shares ISA annually. But that's capped at £45 for the year, which works out to be a maximum charge of £3.75 for the month. So in essence, you would be paying $11.95 one-off and then a maximum of £3.75 per month. The latest changes to the HL pricing structure have now made them the cheapest on the market. The HL app is very robust. The website version isn't as good, but the app is pretty sleek and you can do everything you would need to do on there. This is definitely one of my simpler hands-off accounts you can set and forget pretty easily with things like regular investing. I've actually used HL since I started investing 16 years ago now, and honestly, if it wasn't for the charges being more expensive for how I was trading at the time, which was buying lots of individual stocks, I'd probably have never needed to move. I have to say their level of customer service is next level. Every time you get a response, it's very professional and well thought out. They even offer phone support. I will say that this is quite an important point. On the surface of it, just going for the cheapest provider may seem the best, but you may actually want to consider if things like phone support are important. Having a phone-based customer support team costs money, and it will likely be reflected in the fees that they charge. Remember that the best things in life aren't always the cheapest. Hargreaves Lansdown is the go-to app in my opinion for a stocks and shares lifetime ISA. Even if it's not for one, it could be worth considering if you want either more of an established provider or you want to have all of your accounts in one place, as you could have your ISA, your SIP and your lifetime ISA all on one platform, which trust me, I have considered. Next up is one which is more of an honourable mention, which is Vanguard. I felt like it would be a bit strange for me not to mention them, as I do have my pension with them, which has around 70,000 in it. So if you are following me, you would probably find that a bit odd that I didn't include them. And the reason is they just don't have an app, which frustrates the hell out of me as the US has such an amazing app. There's rumours it's coming soon, so we'll have to stay tuned. It's a very good platform to invest with. I do feel like it's sort of been superseded now by Invest Engine, since Vanguard charges a 0.15% fee and Invest Engine charges 0. But it's worth considering as an option. The good thing about them is they do have the live strategy funds, if you're set on using those. Personally, I don't use them, and I've made a full video explaining why, which you can find on my channel. The reason I'm there now is they are the cheapest option for a pension until Invest Engine opens theirs. There's a waitlist for this that you can join, which I'll link down below. Next up is one you may not be familiar with, but it's a huge name and it's been around for 30 years, and it's based in Manchester, Interactive Investor. Now, Interactive Investor have a ton of different plans, and they've recently just added more plans designed for the beginner investor, with their essential plans starting from just $4.99. Again, with these, you are getting a UK-based phone number that you can call if you need support. You might think, aside from that, why would I pay for them compared to using something like Trading 212 or Invest Engine? Well, you may be surprised, but Interactive Investor is one of the most popular within the FIRE community, Financial Independence Retire Early, who as a group are pretty frugal and financial savvy to say the least. The reason is their pension is one of the cheapest on the market, if not the cheapest at the moment, and this is why I have to mention them. Although I currently use Vanguard for mine, Interactive Investor's flat fee works out a lot better. It's because the fee scales at 0.15%, which goes right up to a whopping £375 for the year. In my video where I've compared SIPs, you can actually see once you get past around 100,000, the Interactive Investor fee stays the same and Vanguard's keeps going up. If you're under 100k, Vanguard would be cheaper, or we'll have to see when Invest Engine launches theirs. But if you are over, right now Interactive Investors is the cheapest option for a pension. One thing to consider though here is if you are under 100k, you might want to consider how important your historical financial data is. Because when you transfer, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose that data. So when you want to look back at all the times you bought, you won't be able to see it. So you could look at it as paying a little bit more now as an investment for the future to save that data. Personally, I don't mind losing mine, but it is frustrating. When people see my ISA and it looks like it's up just 2%, it's frustrating as it's up far more than that over the years. I've just changed provider 3 times. In terms of features on there, you'll find pretty much everything you could ever want. I feel the design is a little bit Marmite, some people love it and some people hate it. I don't mind it, but I do prefer the design of others. Next is a really important account for investing, and that is Plum. Now, it's all good and well investing, but what you do with your money before you invest is also important, and having an emergency fund. And this is why I'm including Plum on the list. You need to make sure you're getting a solid rate of interest before you invest your cash to really maximize your finances, and so many people forget this. I store my cash in Plum Interest, which is currently paying up to 5.15%, which may change, so take a look at the latest rate. But the idea is that this fund follows a rate set by the Bank of England, so as it increases or decreases, the projected yield will change. Plum is essentially a smart money app which allows you to budget, save and invest with automation. They have a new product within the app which launched this year called Plum Interest. Plum Interest is a money market fund. The fund focuses on high quality investments like interest generating government bonds. This makes sure I'm getting a competitive rate on my money compared to the interest I might expect to receive by a traditional current account from a high street bank. And I don't need to worry about switching my accounts every time someone offers a new rate. Probably something most of us overlook, but even on small amounts it does add up. Plum is also offering £5 cashback if you have over £100 in your account after 90 days. I was also debating if to include these, but I've narrowed it down to just one that I use the most. And this one is for the data geeks, but also I think it's good for people who are starting out investing because it can give you a much better insight into how investing works. So Webull has just recently launched into the UK market, and while they don't have an ISA yet or UK stocks, which hopefully they'll be adding this year, they do have amazing stock research tools. The app is free, so there's no charge to use it, and they do have some pretty epic promotions. I'll link this down below, so do check it as it changes every month. I had something like 8 free shares in Apple when I signed up, but let me just show you what you can do with this. If you head over to your account, you've got your watch list. I've got some set up here, but let me add another. Let's add, say, Tesla. Now, once that's on my watch list, I can go in and you'll see all of this information. Admittedly, at first look, the chart may seem overwhelming. It is customizable, but you can scroll across and you can see news, which is all of the latest news about the company. You can see discussions around the stock and what people are saying about it. But more importantly, there's this tool called Analysis. This right here is a premium feature which is paid on most platforms. You can see what analysts are saying about the stock, if it's a buy or a sell, and the current price versus the target price, high, low, and average. You can also see a quant rating, which is a gauge of how good a buy it is, and you can see how people are feeling about it, short, medium, or long term. There's also company details where you can see things like earnings, how much debt the company has, what's been happening to their revenue, their balance sheets, and it goes on and on. I don't think this is for everyone, but this sort of data you are usually on a subscription for at least £20 to £40 per month, so I'd just grab an account while you can. Hopefully we'll see an ISA and UK stocks added, which could make them a huge contender in the next tax year. I hope this has been clear and as transparent as I can be. You certainly don't need all of these accounts. Everyone will have different goals and ideas of what they value in an app. be it low fees or a more premium customer support. These are all the apps that I use, and trust me, I've spent hours researching them all. So if you have any questions about any of them, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. I'm glad you're here, and be sure to join my journey on this channel right up to 1 million, and let's get you investing. If you haven't seen my latest portfolio update, check it out right here, as I'll be doing these very regularly and tracking my whole journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there.